for all the living entities. And then they glorify the position of, in the last verse we saw, the position of Dwarka. The devotee's planning is to always live in Dham. But we also understood how a devotee does Dham Vas. That is mentioned in text number 8 of Nectar of Instruction. There Rupa Goswami is mentioning the essence of all instructions, that is to engage one's complete time, 24 hours, simply in chanting and hearing the names, forms, pastimes of Krishna. And in this way one should live in Vraja, Vrindavan, for the devotee is engaged in service of Krishna. This is called Avyavicharena Bhakti. And in this way one who engages, Yaha Sevate Sagunan Samtitiyaitan, such a person is no longer under control of 3 modes of nature. So it is very simple practice. And such a person is having Dhamvas, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. He is on Brahma platform, spiritual platform. So we understood in order to live in Dham, the attitude is one has to take shelter of an eternal associate of Krishna. So here the stage of Swarup is mentioned in the purport. All of us are having one of the 5 unique relationships with Krishna, and that relationship is revealed as we make advancement in the spiritual life. So one will naturally be inclined towards some particular associate, and always meditating upon that associate service to Krishna, living entity engages in constant chanting and hearing of the name form activities of Krishna. And while in this material world, same thing is done by taking shelter of another eternal associate of Krishna who is known as spiritual master. And one has to follow, serve Krishna in the same mood of the spiritual master. This is also very, very important. Either in the spiritual world or in the material world. We live in Golok Vrindavan Dham or Bhaum Vrindavan Dham here. The principle is the same. One has to follow the footsteps of a pure devotee of Krishna and serve Krishna in a similar mood of that of the pure devotee. And we understood what was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. The mood was, even though Prabhupada was in Dham, he was in Dham so that he can preach the glories of the Dham across the world. So this is the way of making oneself advanced in service of Krishna while in this material world. We also should have similar mood, that I should spread the glories of Dham everywhere. In this way, devotees try to go to the busiest of the cities and spread the glories of the Dham. And now in this verse, they are glorifying special Dhamvasis. Who are those Dhamvasis? In the previous verse, they glorified the general residents of Dwarka. How these residents are so fortunate that they are blessed by the affectionate glances of Krishna. And now special Dhamvasis, of all the residents of Dham, this position is very, very exalted. And that position is of Madhurya Ras. Madhurya Ras means conjugal love. That is of 2 categories. One such relationship is relished by the damsels of Raja. That is called Parikiya. That is outside marriage, conjugal love. And within marriage between husband and wife, that is called Swakiya Rasa. So here the position is glorified. What is a glorification? Nunam vratasnana hutadineshwaraha samarchito yasya grihita panibhi. Pani means hands, grihita means accepted. The hand of the wife is accepted at the time of marriage. So Krishna has accepted hands of many, many wives. And their position is so fortunate that they are able to taste the nectar of lips of Krishna. And how they are able to attain such position? They are telling, Nunam is definitely. It is not possible by any other way. If one has to seek the favor of God, then what one has to do? That is mentioned in the first line. Nunam, definitely. Vrata snana hutadineshwara samarchito. 4 things are mentioned. First thing is vrata. One has to take vows. Taking vow is very, very important for spiritual life. And then snana. In Kumbh Mela now everybody is taking dip, snan, and otherwise also when people visit the holy rivers or holy places, they take dip over there. So such dip in holy places purifies one of all the contamination of sinful life. Huta snana. And huta means Fire sacrifices, yajna, that is also very, very important, although we cannot do that in this age. But otherwise, when it was possible, it was very much recommended. Utadineshvaraha. Adina means by all these, and samarchito hi asya grihita panibi. Samarchita means worshipping, perfectly worshipped. So all of them definitely have taken strong vows, they have taken baths, they have taken to fire sacrifices, and they have perfectly worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now one may ask that we don't see gopis taking any severe vows. They were village girls, they always lived in villages, they were taking care of the cows. And similarly, the queens also, they were born and brought up in huge palaces. They were princes. They were brought up in luxury. So where is the chance of taking severe vows, penances? So that is why Prabhupada has translated this verse Nunam as certainly in the previous birth. Now Nunam means certainly. Where is the mention of previous birth? But Prabhupada is translating, giving word-to-word meaning as certainly in the previous birth. So that is why it is very, very important to read word-to-word meanings also. When Srila Prabhupada produced first versions of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada produced first canto of Bhagavatam in 3 volumes. And Prabhupada was approaching various booksellers. And although many of them were not able to do well, but one bookseller was able to sell many books. And he was telling this edition was very unique because in English language you don't find any other such edition in which word-to-word meaning of every verse and translation, it is explained like that. And the cost was very less, just 16 rupees. So I was able to sell 100, 150 volumes, and it was in volume series. So if I have sold one volume, then naturally the demand would be there for second volume also. So in this way he was very glad. So Soka Maharaj was very nicely explaining that how this is so important, that Srila Prabhupada's position is unique among the acharyas also in terms of giving purport to each and every verse of the Bhagavatam. This has not been done by other acharyas. For many verses there are no purports. So Maharaj was explaining, even though Prabhupada also sometimes we see has not given purport to that verse, but in the following verse, Prabhupada refers. So in the previous verse, this has been explained. This is the meaning. So combined purport has been given. Or in the word-to-word meaning itself, the purport is there. Simply if we consider the word meaning, we might not be able to make sense out of it, or we might doubt what is the meaning of this shloka. Nunam vratasnana hutadineshvaraha. Where they have taken vows, where they have taken baths. They were princes living in luxury. They were cowherd girls. But no, here certainly means certainly in previous lives. That is a meaning when the women on the rooftops of Hastinapur are talking. This is the meaning that they have in their mind. When they tell certainly they have taken bath and this thing, it means they have taken in previous lives. So thus the purported meaning, which is what matters, literal meaning might not make sense to the people like us who are not so intelligent and advanced in Vedic understanding. So that is why it is not that, as we have discussed many times, we should not get confused, that Prabhupada is giving some his own biased meanings. It is not bias. It is the actual meaning. Then we can make sense. Oh, many, many lives of austerities, penances, taking baths are required. And this is supported in the Shastras. And Maharaj was explaining, there was one scholar who was engaged in translating Bhagavatam. And in Bhagavatam, we have heard various verses. And there is a one word which comes in all these verses, that is Griha Medhi. Griheshu Griha Medhinam, Griha Medhinam. And what is the meaning of Griha Medhi? Anyone? Yes? Envious householder. Prabhupada is. So Griha Medhi does not mean actually envious householder. Envy is not there. Griha means one who lives in house or house, and Medhi means intelligent. One who is very intelligent in maintaining his household activities. So the translator told, I don't agree with this meaning of your Acharya because I consulted all these dictionaries. And why this is called that Griha Medhi is called envy? Where is the word envy? And it is being translated as envious householder. And then Maharaj went to Chanchalapati Prabhu. Then Chanchalapati Prabhu told, no, Prabhupada gives the purport in the word-to-word meaning itself. And the previous acharyas would have explained like that. So then he referred to the commentary of some of the previous acharyas, either Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Jeev Goswami or somebody. And then he had explained that Griha Medhi means envious householder. Because anybody who is using his intelligence to maintain his household life is envious of others. Only to show off a person uses intelligence. Otherwise, intelligence will be used to advance in spiritual life. The greatest intellectual person of modern times, Chanakya Pandit, he was living in cottage. He did not use his intelligence to study civil engineering and make a royal palace for himself. He might have done that. He could make a royal palace for an ordinary person. He himself could have done that, but he did not use his intelligence to make technology, to make anything else a comfortable living. He used his intelligence for different purpose. What was the purpose? He was knowing self-realization. Tyajed ekam kulasyarthe. As we have discussed, very nice shloka he has composed, that one person can be sacrificed for the interest of the family. Gramasyarthe kulam tyajet. And for the interest of the village, one family can be sacrificed. One should protect every individual. One should protect one's family also. These are the duties. But higher duty of protecting family supersedes the duty of protecting individual. So similarly, the duty of protecting village supersedes the duty of protecting families. So one family can be sacrificed for the protection of village. And gramam janapadasyarthe tyajet, the interest of one village can be sacrificed to take care of the city. And atmarthe prithvim tyajet, for self-realization one can renounce the whole world. So this is the meaning. So for self-realization is so important that one can renounce whole world, obligation, duties, interest of the entire world. Self-realization of individual is so important. So thus we can understand. So this is the life of the great devotees. See, any great devotee, Bharat Maharaj. So he renounced everything, the entire kingdom. So that is why people are very much worried. There is unemployment increasing in the country. So actually unemployment is never an issue. What is the issue? The issue is lack of Krishna consciousness. 3/4 of the society were always unemployed in Vedic culture. There was no need of employment. Brahmachari doesn't need employment. He will take education in the Gurukul. And Vanpras again will go to jungle. And sannyasi anyway is renounced. He is advanced. So all these 3 people will never seek employment. And even those who are householder, among them also, 3/4 do not need any employment. The Brahmanas will not take any employment. Patan, Pathan, Yajan, Yajan, Dan, Pratigraha. They will study the Vedas, they will educate others, worship and teach others how to worship the Supreme Lord, except survive on charity, bare minimum maintenance. So the employment was needed for the people who are not capable of practicing Brahmanical standards, Vedic research about absolute truth, teaching others the same spiritual subject matter. They could not do that. Neither could they do administration. Neither. The simple thing is, you cultivate your farm. That also does not need any employment. Have a piece of land, grow your food, clothes, and live there. What is the need of employment? Employment is required when you are not satisfied with simple way of life. Otherwise, God has given land for everybody. You live in a land, produce your food, nice food, have a healthy life. And even material happiness you can enjoy. Eating, mating, sleeping, defending is called material happiness. So with this advancement of technology, there is no material happiness also, because a person cannot sleep nicely. Richest of the people are not able to sleep nicely. So much arrangement they have to do to have sleep. But if you work simple life in a field without employment, you can have very sound sleep because you have done hard work entire day. So very good sleep. If you do this, take to this simple process of cultivation of field. And because you have worked hard, you will have strong hunger, you will be able to digest. And when you are hungry, the taste of food increases many times. So then you will be able to relish food also. Now you don't get hunger because of sedentary lifestyle, not able to eat. First of all, so many diseases are there, you will not be able to eat. And even if you eat, you don't get taste. Similarly, mating, people are very much harassed. That is why divorces are happening. The main reason of divorce is dissatisfaction of spiritual life. As the material experts, they say, we do not know. But they tell divorce happens mainly because of dissatisfaction of sex life. Why people are dissatisfied? Because they have done so much artificial sex, they have become impotent. So after marriage, they are not able to get satisfaction. So people are completely dissatisfied. That is what happens. If you overeat, you will get diseased. Food will not give you any satisfaction. You will not be able to relish food. Similarly, with sex life, you waste your semen, you will not be able to have a good married life. You will not be satisfied. So in eating, there is no satisfaction. In sleeping, you cannot do properly. Mating, there is no satisfaction. And defending, there is so much fear. Anybody can attack and kill because there is no proper Kshatriya. Prabhupada tells, even till recent times, the king of Kashmir, one of the last provinces, he was so strong. Any thief found, he will cut his hands immediately with his own sword. Thus, nobody would dare touch any item, even if it is lying on the street. You can come next day, pick it up from that street. Nobody will touch. If it does not belong to you, need not bother. Let it be there. So kings were so strong. So this is called administration. If the king cannot give proper defense, proper protection, he has no right to collect taxes. He will be sent to hell, it is told. So this should be the protection. Citizens should be so free. If anything is lost, they can go and find it. Now there is no protection. Government is collecting taxes and there is so much crime. People are not safe. So eating, mating, sleeping, defending. In all these four pillars, there is dissatisfaction. So where is material advancement? So thus, even for proper material advancement, spiritual goal should be taken as prime necessity of life. Then there is automatically material well-being. And if we simply run after material happiness, that is mirage, there is no. So thus we can see how it is clearly an illusion. There is no even material satisfaction because there is no satisfaction of eating, mating, sleeping and defending. But that is possible. So thus in Vedic culture, there is no question of everyone is having sufficient employment. First of all, you don't need to work at all. People would live simple life in jungle. The brahmacharis, vanaprasthas and sannyasis. Those who are having a household life, among them also, only Shudra class will take employment. Otherwise, others are cultivating farm or doing administration or teaching, educating. So that is why a person who uses his intelligence to maintain his household life very nicely, he is called envious. Because only out of envy, I want to show off to others. And thus I work very hard. I have more marks than you. I have better salary than you. My clothes are better than yours. My property is bigger than yours. So this happens only when we are envious. So that is why one who uses his intelligence for comfortable household life, naturally the seed of envy is there in the heart. Otherwise, what is the need of working so hard? You can be satisfied by having a simple life, but no envy. So thus we can understand the meaning. Griha Medhi, one who is very intelligent about maintaining his household affairs, he definitely must be envious of others. Without envy, nobody will work hard in this field, in this world. So that is why we have to understand. Just see how simply if we can understand the word meanings, the entire philosophy is clear. That is why Prabhupada's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so nice. One word you can read for 1 month. One word you can discuss for a month. And thus Prabhupada tells, Vedanta Sutra, people are very fond of reading Vedanta. Do you know what is Vedanta? This entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 18,000 verses, is expansion or explanation of first sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha. 3 words, Janmadi Asya Yataha, have been explained in 18,000 verses. And in this explanation also, one word can be discussed for 1 month. Simply you can discuss Grihamedhi. Why this word Grihamedhi is used? So this is the poetic expression. The intelligent householder. He is never satisfied. Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Neha tripyanti kripana bhaudukha bhaja. So that is a sarcasm. Intelligent householder. So basically he is envious. So thus Prabhupada is writing, certainly in the previous birth. Nuna means certainly, but certainly when? In the previous birth. So thus we should not miss even word-to-word meanings. So all the previous acharyas have explained, and Prabhupada is carrying on the same thing and has explained in the synonyms or in the translation or in the purport. Thus word-to-word meanings may not match because Prabhupada is intent on giving us the purports, either in the synonyms or in the translation, and of course in the purports. So it is very, very important to read the purports, to read translation as well as the word-to-word meanings, everything. Another important point is, yes, if we have to attain favor of Krishna, it is very important to undergo vrata. Vrata means vows. Without undergoing vows, it is not possible to get favor of Krishna. That is why it is told in Bhagavad Gita also, Yesham tu antakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moho nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavritaha. So people can engage in my service only when they are freed from all the sinful activities. So one has to take dridhavrita, vow, strong vow that I do not want to commit any more sinful actions, sinful activities. So it is very, very important to avoid all sinful activities, 4 regulative principles especially. So thus Prabhupada explains, one may ask this question, that if Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so important that all the other Vedic literatures, they don't hold any value without Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then why it was given so late to the human beings in the Kali Yuga? Why it was not given before? Ved Vyas had to personally compose. Other scriptures were coming down in parampara. So why it was given so late when it is so important? So thus Prabhupada explains this very nicely in 2nd canto, 1 purport. It is because there was no need of such literature explaining God consciousness, because people were already God conscious. They were understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and they were knowing it. They were very much aware. But the duration of life is shortened because of irregular habits. So when people in Kali Yuga started engaging in sinful habits, sinful activities, and all the sinful activities are based on the 4 pillars. Which are the 4 pillars? Triyasuna Dyuti Panam. Meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. People are very much worried about corruption and other immoral habits. Everything, all the immoral habits, all the wrongdoings, they stand on these 4 pillars: meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. If these things are prohibited, the entire society will become purified automatically. So when people started indulging in these sinful activities, they forgot their relationship with Krishna. Thus, there was a need to specifically compose this treatise explaining the science of God. Otherwise, Prabhupada explains, before this, there was no need of such a book because people were knowing. But when they commit sinful activities, then people forget. So that is why it is told, always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So to remember Krishna, we do all these spiritual positive practices, chanting, hearing. And in order to avoid forgetting Krishna, we should very strictly take a vow of not breaking the 4 regulative principles. That is very, very important. So these negative vows and positive vows are also very, very important. And now also we can see there is Kumbh Mela. That is also a vow. People go there, not just in Kumbh, otherwise also. In the month of Magh, in this January, for a month, people go there in winters, especially in winters, as we have seen they go there. They can go in any other pleasant weather. Why in winters? No, because they have to do tapasya. Taking penance is very important. In winters only they will go when it is freezing cold. And thus Prabhupada also went in one such Kumbh Mela. And then Prabhupada noticed, because it was so cold, the disciples told it was so cold, if you walk in the morning in the sand, it feels you are walking on ice. And there are cold winds everywhere. It was so cold. Water was so cold. And then Prabhupada noticed that the devotees have started missing Mangalarti. And Prabhupada was, of course, he was not regularly attending Mangalarti because he was busy in his translation work. That was most important. So why Prabhupada was not attending Mangalarti, it is not important for him. Prayana munayo rajan nivritta vidishedataha nairgunyastha ramante sma gunanukathane harehe. So the Paramhansas, they are able to relish the discourses on Lord Krishna. And these, the supreme transcendentalists who are 24 hours able to relish the pastimes, activities, narrations of Krishna, Nivritta Vidhi Shedata, they are Nivritta means they are freed from Vidhi and Nished, do's and don'ts. And generally these souls only are able to take pleasure in describing the activities of the Supreme Lord. And such people who are able to relish, who cannot live without a moment describing the activities of Krishna, for them there are no do's and don'ts. So all these vratas, that is why in this life, the queens and the gopis did not take anything, because all of them are paramhansas, they are liberated souls. They are residents of the spiritual sky, then it is not required. But to attain that platform, such penances, austerities are very much required. So thus Prabhupada, it was not necessary for him to follow all these vows very, very strictly. But nevertheless, because he is an acharya, he was setting an example. So all other things he was following very nicely. It is not required for him to finish his rounds by counting. Whatever he is doing, he is on the spiritual platform. He is a resident of Vrindavan. But still, to set an example, he was following all these things very nicely. But especially Mangalarti, he was excusing himself just to finish this Bhagavatam, which was very, very important, the most important contribution as per his consideration. But nevertheless, it was a situation where this example was required to be set. Thus, Prabhupada, even though he was not keeping good health, he went there, he was living in the tent, and he also started coming for Mangalarti, leaving his translation work aside. He would get up, and then Prabhupada was sick, and thus he was having lukewarm water for his bath. But to set an example, Prabhupada started taking cold water bath before sunrise. And then disciples understood how important it is. Never ever to miss Mangalarti, how much ever cold it is. And in cold also, you are supposed to take cold water bath. These were the standards Prabhupada set. So of course, we don't take such, and we also cannot take such other vows which people take, like in Chaturmasya. People take very, very strong vows. They would not shave, they would not use their hands also for eating. Just like the animals, they eat directly from the mouth. The spiritualists, they will eat food just from their mouth. Because from hand, you can eat very nicely, you can eat more. But directly, you have to use your mouth for eating. How much you can eat? It is so tough. And like this, many great vows are taken. Like we have seen our acharyas also, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj also, all of them took very, very severe penances and vows. Raghunath Das Goswami never allowed sense gratification to his tongue. So spiritual life is not easy. When Raghunath Das Goswami ran from his house, so sometimes how now when we have to join movement, so we have to go to Bangalore to take training. And sometimes some of the devotees, they took a flight and they reached there to join temple. So Vasudeva Keshav Prabhu told, what is this you are training your boys up? To join temple, they are coming in flight. Then we started sending in trains. That at least do some austerity. Don't be so comfortable. um, of course, now in ashram also there might be some little more allowance in the menu. You can have some paratha also someday, and you can have something else, dosa also once in a week. But Prabhu told when Prabhu had joined in 1992, and what was the menu that time? So Prabhu is very much strict in his eating. Prabhu takes just one grain meal in a day, and otherwise Prabhu takes just fruits. And Prabhu is very, very simple in his eating. And if you would have noticed, morning he will take fruits, at 11 o'clock Prabhu will take some grains, and very simple diet. And but Prabhu told when I joined ashram, then the devotees were taking rice, dal and sabji. That's it. No chapati also. Only rice, dal and sabji. That too same dal every day. Sabji there was some variation. But otherwise rice, dal, same rice, same dal. No tomato rice, no lemon rice, nothing else. Rice, dal and sabji. And same rice, same dal. So then Prabhu was telling that I took it for 6 months and then I requested, Prabhu, can little variation? Is it possible? And then they introduced sambar. That was a luxury. And Chanchalapati Prabhu told, oh, we can have sambar also now in the ashram. So just in South India, the devotees were not given sambar. And when we joined, so many of us were North Indians. So we take chapatis, and some devotees they approach. So how much chapatis we were given? 2 chapatis in a day. Counted 2 chapatis. That's it. And that too in the evening you will get. Otherwise you manage with other things. Rice and this thing. So 2 chapatis in a day. So some devotees have never eaten rice in their life. In Rajasthan especially, you don't eat rice much. On very special occasions you have. You survive on chapatis. And there is no chapati at all. 2 chapatis in a day. So they approached temple commander or that, Prabhu, can we have a few more? One or two? You want to eat this. So yes, anyway, these are the standards. But we have to do some adjustment with the change of generations. Otherwise, they might get very much disturbed when they join ashram. But otherwise, this is the principle. Strict life of regulations, vows. Our acharyas have done so much tapasya. So now the devotees are joining in flights. They go to temple. But how Raghunath Das Goswami he traveled? He ran away from house. And on foot he traveled from his house in Bengal to Jagannath Puri. No trains also. Nothing. He ran and it took around 10 days for him to travel on foot. Just imagine. 10 days he kept on running through the jungles, through other way, odd ways. And he was able to eat just 3 or 4 times. That's it. In his 10 days of journey. So it is not easy to take shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. And he is eternal associate of Krishna, but nevertheless they are setting example. So he was in such a bad state. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he got very glad. Just see, this is Raghunath Das Goswami. So even though he has got comforts like that of Indra. Indra is the king of heaven. So his father and uncle were filthy rich, one of the richest people of the country, richest tax collectors. But still, he is having no interest in all his opulences. Why is he having no interest? Any person who is so rich, living in such luxury, we see they usually become addicted to all worldly enjoyments. But here he is not at all addicted. Why? So when Raghunath Das Goswami was trying to run away from the house, the mother got worried. And mother told, let us bind him in chains so that he doesn't go away. So every time he would try to run, they will catch him. So the father told, how we can catch? Because he has received mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who receives mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nobody can stop him. Nobody can keep him at home. So thus, if we have to receive mercy, if we have to make spiritual advancement, we have to receive mercy. That's it. All detachment, all renunciation comes in the heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito, when we receive mercy of the superiors, higher personalities, superior authorities. So artificially we cannot do. Thus Prabhupada writes many times when devotees were writing, should I meditate on lotus feet of Krishna or Nityanand Prabhu or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or do this thing? So Prabhupada told one should not try to follow Krishna consciousness artificially. This ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, it is not artificial, it is natural. When Krishna sees the devotee is very sincere, serious in executing spiritual life, the vows of spiritual life, the Prabhupada tells one who is very, very determined to follow the rules and regulations of spiritual life, such a devotee always feels transcendental enthusiasm in spiritual life. Such a devotee will always feel transcendental enthusiasm in spiritual life. It is not artificial ecstasy. Krishna releases such enthusiasm, pleasure from the heart. One who is very, very serious in following the rules and regulations. So thus rules and regulations, sometimes people artificially, so thus Prabhupada tells, so some of my disciples, they are artificially trying to become Paramahansa. So what Paramahansa rascals Prabhupada tells? So what is Paramahansa? By this you can test you are Paramahansa or not. Gunanukathane Harehe. That 24 hours you will be chanting the names of Krishna, describing Krishna. You will not be able to live for a moment without describing Krishna. Then you are Paramahansa. Nidrahar Vihara Kadi Vijitau. By this you can measure Goswami's Nidrahar Vihar Kadi. You should be able to conquer eating, mating, sleeping and defending. Like Goswamis, they were not sleeping at all. First thing is you have to conquer sleeping. And then ahar, eating, sex life, vihar, and etc. Defending. Nidrahar, vihar, kadi vijitau. So by this you should measure how much you have made your eating, mating, sleeping zero. By this you can measure you are Paramahansa or not. And then you can give a following rules and regulations. Not before that. Not before we have conquered over eating, mating, sleeping and defending. Till that point, we have to follow the rules and regulations very, very strictly. Entire spiritual life depends upon these rules and regulations. That is why Prabhupada was very, very particular. Does not matter. It is pinching cold. You have to take cold water bath and get up early every day for Mangalarti without fail. So our spiritual life is not so tough as people would follow in the Vedic culture, but still we follow positive rules and regulations like getting up early in the morning every day, in executing Mangalarti, and then chanting prescribed number of rounds. We take a vow. So Prabhupada explains, does not matter. Whatever is convenient to you, you take a vow. That is why we have this Ashraya program. You take a vow for chanting 1 round, then take a vow for chanting 4 rounds, 12 rounds. As per your 15 minutes you read every day, don't reduce. This is very important. We cannot do sometimes I am doing it, other times I am not doing it. Sometimes I am having prasadam, sometimes I am eating bhoga. No, that is not allowed. Vow means vow. If I have decided, I will follow. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj set an example. He was a small child. When he ate, I think he was 5 years old, when he ate a mango which is not offered. And from 5 years he took a vow. I have committed great sin. I took a mango which was not offered to Krishna. Entire life he never ate mango. This is the example Acharyas have said. How seriously one should follow the rules and regulations of spiritual life. So then, simply if you follow rules and regulations, then automatically there will be always enthusiasm in spiritual life. Always there would be bliss. It is not artificial. Naturally it comes. So one should be very, very serious. This is very important. Vrata snana hutadineshwaraha. That is why we have vratas, ekadashi vrata. There might be inconvenience in accepting non-grains, minimizing the eating, but nevertheless it should be accepted. As far as possible, one should try to fast. If we can fast without water, best. With water, okay. With fruits, okay. Milk, that also can be done. Or non-grains at least. So minimize the eating. Taking austerity penances is very much required. But among all these things, which is the most important vrata? That is every morning and evening hearing about Krishna. This is most important of all. So even though Prabhupada had got limited time and Prabhupada had got limited resources, When Prabhupada was struggling in India, he was not having enough money to publish even Bhagavatam. And he was running here and there to secure money. He would sell a few volumes of Bhagavatam, whatever money he will get from that. From that, he will again approach the printer so that he can release further volumes. And then he will sell, and then he will publish next volume. In this way, he was not having any money. He was struggling a lot. And thus many people describe that yes, he was a wonderful person who witnessed Prabhupada in those days. But then none of them thought that Prabhupada would be able to make a real change in the world. So one person tells, because he was very simple and poor. I thought, what a change he'll make. He was very simple man. And he was very poor man also. And thus when Prabhupada was living here in Mumbai, he came to meet Sumati Murarji. And he was having no place to live. So she arranged, because Prabhupada had by that time, he got his sponsorship to live there. And the only thing pending was P form. Sumati Murarji then assured, okay, you have got visa approved, everything. P form was a clearance given by the bank that he has got no debts in this thing, he can travel abroad. And Prabhupada is having no place to stay. So Prabhupada was made to stay in the quarters meant for the employees of the Scindia company. And from there, Prabhupada had to travel to Andheri station. It was around 2 kilometers. And when Mataji was sharing the same society with Prabhupada, she tells that Swamiji would work very hard, that he would go out every day trying to sell his Bhagavatam. And evening he would be completely tired, completely exhausted. And sometimes he was feeling dejected also, that people were not taking interest. And she would often pass by. They were living in close quarters. She would ask that, Swamiji, did you meet any favorable contacts today? So he would tell, no, time is not right yet. People are not interested. But then she would tell, even though he was dejected, next moment he will again spring up with energy and he will start writing and translating again. So she could see this sudden shift, even though he's physically very tired, but again, next moment he was very enthusiastic, even though people are not favorable, nothing. And then she would tell, he was very, very poor. He would travel every day. He would walk 2 kilometers, means 4 kilometers up and down, because he could not even afford the bus fare. So we can imagine buses are so cheap. And he was not able to afford even bus fare at that time. And that's when everything was clear. It was time for him to travel. Now, America is very cold. He was not having warm clothes also. The Sumati Murarji told Mr. Choksi, secretary, that please arrange warm clothes for Swamiji. So even though Prabhupada was so poor, he would have done anything to raise money. But even in these situations, Prabhupada would always give a morning and evening class. Prabhupada would not save time. Okay, let me save time. Evening, let me remain engaged in selling Bhagavatam, make more money. No. Prabhupada was still giving morning and evening classes. So Prabhupada set his own, even when he was living in Delhi, again, he was having no money in Chippiwada, that place. So then also, Prabhupada was giving classes every morning and evening. Even though it was struggle, he was trying to, just like here, to meet Sumati Murarji. It was very difficult. And the secretaries were not allowing, because she is a rich lady and he's a poor man. So many poor people approach. So Prabhupada told what to do. Then he came out of the office and sat on his steps outside his office. And he sat for 5 hours over there, chanting. We can just imagine Paramahansa sitting on the steps outside the office. And for 5 hours. And then finally, when the office time was over, she came out in a frenzy discussing things with her secretary. She asked, who is this gentleman sitting here? Then he told, he's so-and-so and he's waiting here for the last 5 hours. So then she approached and told Swamiji, please come to my office, we will meet tomorrow. And this way Prabhupada was able to meet. And similarly, Prabhupada was standing outside the gate another time just to collect, how much, 5 rupees or 5 rupees? Just to collect 5 rupees, Prabhupada was standing outside the gate. And then another god brother, he became compassionate. He told, I will give you 5 rupees. Please come with me. So the so much struggle was there, but still Prabhupada was taking out time for this morning and evening. Every day he would give classes. Any other calculative man, intelligent, so-called intelligent man would have tried to save time. Now situation is not right. For Krishna's sake, I need to raise money. Let me spend more time in the field. But no. Morning and evening for Krishna. And this most important thing Prabhupada told. Morning and evenings, I should plan my life in such a way that every morning and evening I should be able to absorb myself in Krishna Katha. This is most important. Simply by this thing, all spiritual success is assured. We should plan. We should never be so greedy, never become so much intelligent in household affairs that we don't have time morning and evening. Morning and evenings are just meant always. And we should be very peaceful. Morning, we get up early in the morning, take bath, chant, and then hear very nicely, hear and read. Evening again, come back, uh, forget all the office or college academics, and take bath, do arti, again, discuss, read, hear. And in this way, one should be absorbed in Shravanam and Kirtanam. This is the most important vow we should take. That how much ever busy we are, if this thing is taken care, every morning and evening we are hearing about Krishna, then Prabhupada tells all other austerities, penances, automatically we will do. If knowledge is not there, we'll ask 100 questions. We'll not be able to do it. But simply by hearing Bhagavatam, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, heart becomes cleansed, and we become capable, blessed to undertake all the austerities which may be required. So with this, we'll finish. Any questions? And the devotees hearing from folk residency can take leave if they wish. I'll continue with Q&A for some time.
Krishna Prabhu, Dhanat Pranam. Prabhu, my question is regarding chanting. Like from Nectar of Devotion, I read we should chant loudly, but also it is advised to chant softly. So Prabhu, how to understand this?
So it is told chanting is the English word which means both kirtan and japa. Both we call chanting. So kirtan is done usually loudly with instruments, and japa technically means chanting which only we can hear, chanting very softly so that you can hear your voice. So that is why both meanings are described, because chanting means both kirtan and it also means japa. So japa also can be done, although japa usually is done softly, but our understanding is we do it loudly, that is better. And many times question was asked, when we are not able to concentrate, what to do? Prabhupada told, chant loudly when you are not able to concentrate. Because suppose we are hearing class, then there is any sound, immediately attention goes there. What is this sound? So sound automatically draws one's attention. That is why Haridas Thakur also was chanting very loudly. So there's one reason that we are easily able to concentrate. So whenever we are not able to concentrate, we should try to chant loudly. Another reason is when we do loud chanting, other species also, they get advantage. Trees, germs, insects, animals, this sound vibration purifies them also. So that is why loud chanting is always preferred. But if one is comfortable chanting softly, as Prabhupada also chanted very, very softly many times his japa, so that is also all right. Loudly or softly, Prabhupada told, one should chant without any offenses, very, very attentively, with great devotion, love and attention, one should chant the holy name. This is important. And another consideration is when we are chanting together, especially if we chant very loudly, others may get disturbed. So that is why when we chant together in the temple hall, we should be very conscious that others should not get disturbed because of my chanting. So I should chant just so that I can hear very, very softly. But if I am feeling sleepy, I am not able to be attentive, we can go outside, we can go on the rooftop or in the garden somewhere, and then we can chant loudly. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you have mentioned that earlier there was in the earlier ages there was no need of Bhagavatam because people were already God conscious.
Yes.
How do we understand that people were God conscious? Because as far as I know, things like in the Satya Yuga or we talk about the Treta Yuga, people were bad there as well. They were committing crimes as well. So
they were coming
crimes.
Yeah.
So how do we understand that these people were God conscious and there was no need of the Bhagavatam in the earlier ages?
Yes. So in Satyuga there was no crime, very, very negligible. So in material world, yes, all the things are always existing. That is when Bhagavatam such shlokas are there. That is why these sinful activities are mentioned, because they were existing, but they were almost absent. That is why it is told in Satyuga, there was no need of Varnashrama system also. Because as we discussed, Varnashrama rules and regulations were given to people as per their spiritual capacity. But in Satyuga, there was no need of Varnashram, because all the people were Hansas, they were Paramahansas, it is told. Each and every person was Paramahansa. There was only one ashram. There was no need of many mantras. They were chanting Om was sufficient. But when people became degraded, so many other rules and regulations, so many scriptures, Purana, Satvik Purana, Rajasic Purana, Tamasic Purana, as per the capacity of people were given. So in Satyuga, everyone was Paramahansa. They were all very, very advanced. In Treta Yuga, slowly, 25% there was corruption. And after that, 50%. In Kali Yuga, the corruption is increasing more. So thus, this was the situation. Do we have online any questions? Online, Ashish Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, self-realization is so important that one can renounce the whole world for that. So, for our self-realization, so we do preaching, right? So we may get attached to that also. So should we renounce that also for self-realization?
So we should renounce sense gratification when it is told. So for that matter, the spiritualists, they don't go to Mars. Okay, I have to leave Earth for self-realization. Chanakya has told, it means I have to go to Mars or Moon and then practice. No, they live in the same planet. Leaving means leaving tendency for sense gratification.
Like Bharat Maharaj renounced all.
He was still in this planet.
Yes, he
Correct. So renouncing means renouncing the tendency for sense gratification. So the example has been set of living in cottage and living in forest for the general masses. But those who are devotees, they are given this special opportunity of preaching. Thus they live in the cities and they preach Krishna consciousness. And such a life is better than living in jungle away from this thing.
And Prabhu, in Nectar of Instructions, it is mentioned that one should live in
Getting my
Dham.
point? So one will never get attached by this preaching work. Oh, I have to do preaching in Bombay, I'll get attached to Bombay and Bollywood. No, it will never happen. If you don't follow spiritual master in jungle, we may get attached to even an animal or other woman. But if we are living in midst of materialistic society, but following the spiritual master very nicely, we will be completely protected. It is spiritual master who protects us.
One should live in Dham in association with pure devotees.
Yes.
And on the other side, devotees also go to crowded cities to glorify the Dhams, to spread the glories of Dham. So which is better, to stay in Dham in association of pure devotees, or to come to crowded cities to glorify the Dhams? Which one is better? Which one pleases Krishna more?
Whatever spiritual master orders, that pleases Krishna more.
Krishna.
Generally, it is going out and preaching. And once a devotee has preached sufficiently, in old age, one can retire to live in Dham. Otherwise, devotee, wherever he is living, he is preaching, he is always in Dham, as we discussed.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, outsiders confuse our austerity or sadhana as less effective as compared to Naga sadhus. They feel that there is negligible austerity in our process and envy how devotees stay luxurious. And example, we have good accommodation, sometimes we travel by car, we have big temples and best of the prasadam.
Yes.
So people misunderstand this. So how do we explain them?
We should explain from the Shastras. Narad Muni, so many scriptures are there. Narad Muni explains, Aradhito yadi haris tapasa tata kim. Naradhito yadi haris tapasa tata kim. One who has taken to the service of Supreme Lord, what is the use of tapasya? Anyone has not taken to service of Supreme Lord, what is the use of tapasya? Because purpose of tapasya is to engage in service. So one who is engaged in service, he has fulfilled all the other requirements. But in the service also, some minimum tapasya is required that we should follow very, very strictly. So otherwise, we can quote this verse. And like this, there are many other verses like As we have discussed many times, the verse of Kapil Muni, he's telling that all these rules and regulations of following your duties very nicely, they are meant to elevate one to the platform of Vairagya. Jivan api mritoisa. If a person is not advancing towards Vairagya by following Dharma very nicely, then such a person is considered dead even though living within this body. And if a person has got great renunciation, but he has not engaged himself in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, then again he is considered dead even though he might be having a body which appears to be conscious. So thus all these various verses are mentioned in the scriptures where very, very clearly it is told that the ultimate purpose of all tapasyas is engagement in the service of Hari. So when you do that, already your life is perfect.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. How long should we engage in reading and kirtan on both morning and evening? Is there any prescription in scriptures or given anything told by Prabhupada?
Yes, the prescription is Nityam Bhagavad Seva. 24 hours we should do that. We should have no business. But if we cannot do that, you decide for yourself how much time you can take out and then follow it with a rigid vow.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, what is the kind of prescription for accumulation of wealth and employment for a grihastha in the Kali Yuga? What should the so-called grihastha should do who is engaged in some kind of employment?
So the best thing for grihasthas also is to dedicate their lives full time in the movement. They serve in the temple like brahmacharis are doing. There is no difference. The only difference is they serve with their wives and children and we serve without them. So there's the first recommendation. They participate full time in Sankirtan. And if it is not possible, if one is stuck in some job outside or one has some desires, then the next recommendation is you still follow the morning and evening program as we discussed. You have to get up at the same time, Brahm Muhurta, do Mangala Arati, Bhagavatam, deity worship, evening time again, you do the same thing. And meantime, when you are engaged in your occupational duty, find a job where you don't break regulative principles, do an honest job, and maximum 8 hours we should spend in that job. And the result of that, minimum 50% should be offered to Krishna. And in this way, the grihasthas can also become perfect. And of course, it might be a little difficult to follow everything. So as we discussed, take a vow as per your capacity. Okay, this much charity I can do every month. Start with that, don't reduce. Okay, I cannot do Mangala Arati now. I can get up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or even 8 o'clock. At least fix some time, take some vow and start following that. And gradually come to the standard of getting up before sunrise and doing the morning program, evening program, and offering the result of activities to Krishna. In this way, wherever we are doing job, we will not find ourselves getting contaminated. Rather, we will always feel spiritual bliss.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, if in Satya Yuga everyone is a Paramhamsa, why do they chant Krishna's impersonal name Om?
So there are two different understandings for this. The Gayatri mantra or Om is chanted by Lord Brahma also. So a devotee also may chant Om. But when a devotee chants Om, there is a gulf of difference. And they understand this Om is Krishna only. That is why it is told in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, if you read very carefully in 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme, it is told, by chanting Om and by sitting in the meditative trance, the devotee transfers himself to the spiritual abode. Nobody can go to the spiritual abode unless one is a devotee. So we can see he is a devotee, but by chanting Om, he is able to transfer himself to spiritual world. So this was the process for the Ashtanga yogis, that they are able to meditate on the Supreme Lord Krishna by chanting Om. They understand Om is name of Krishna only. But there is another category who are envious of Krishna. So thus Prabhupada was asked, why in Upanishads chanting of Om is given more stress? It is because Prabhupada told you will not accept. People do not want to accept that God is a person. They are envious of the personality of God. They don't want to render service. For them, only impersonal conception of the Supreme is revealed, and impersonal address called Om is revealed. And they are also called Paramhansas. And such people also, they will be able to attain liberation, although impersonal liberation. So these are the reasons for which people chant Om. Devotees also following Ashtanga Yoga can chant Om, but when they chant Om, they are completely absorbed in Krishna and they go to Vaikuntha Lokas.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Nowadays, we are hearing from the great leaders like Narayan Murthy and L&T CEO advocating 90 hours per week. How should the aspiring spiritualist defend this?
How many hours are there in a week? No, how many hours are there? 24 into 7. 144, yes. So devotee means 144 hours he should work. 164. No, 7 days. 168. So not 90, 90 is less. Devotee's perspective is 168 hours one should work, but only for the pleasure of Krishna. Not for yourself, yes. 168 hours we should work.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, 4 sampradayas are authorized. So how is Mahaprabhu's philosophy is considered to be the highest?
One has to see from the result. Any philosophy, how any school is highest, you can see from the capacity of the students, first of all. Which kind of students are coming here? If in any college the top rankers are coming, it means that college should be good. And what result they are getting? What is their situation after taking admission in that college? Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu school. Which kind of people take to school of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They do not want anything in life, neither fruitive results nor liberation. Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhakti rahetu kitvai. Thus, all the 4 sampradayas are bona fide. The acharyas are perfect in knowledge. But as per the capacity of individuals, the knowledge is revealed. Thus, in other sampradayas, there might be stress on going back to Godhead. And even though Prabhupada also tells going back to Godhead, but not that I want to go back to Godhead. I want to serve Krishna. When I have this desire, automatically Krishna will take us back to Godhead. But otherwise, in other places, even though people are worshipping Krishna, the desire is to go back to Godhead. I want to get liberated. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's school is Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhaktir Ahetuki Tvai. Life after life, let me take birth over and over again. But I want to engage in the service of Krishna. So thus we can see there is no match for this philosophy, where the devotee is willing to give up everything and anything. And another part is, there are so many restrictions in other sampradayas. In bona fide sampradaya also, you have to take a very good birth in Brahmin family, then only you can engage full time in service of Krishna and take sannyas. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not follow this. He was able to elevate the most fallen people to the topmost platform. Example is Jagai Madhai and so many people today we can see. So thus we can see from the transformation the movement has brought, we can see from the result that the people get love of Godhead, spiritual ecstasy, topmost ecstasy. Ultimately, one has to engage in service of Krishna. All the sampradaya, either of the sampradayas, the ultimate aim is Ante Narayana Smriti. Think of Krishna at the time of death. Now, who can think of Krishna at the time of death with greatest intensity? Who can love Krishna? And love of Krishna is given the topmost love in the sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, there are rules and regulations that you follow very, very strictly. Rules and regulations also will help us in thinking of Krishna. But when you have love of Krishna, then even if you want, you cannot forget. Gopis were doing yoga so that they can forget Krishna. You have to struggle to forget Krishna. So this is the school of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by this we can understand. We'll finish. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की